What's up, traders? It's Chris here from Grindstone Trading. Just wanted to go over in depth a little bit more about the option scalping strategy that I'm using right now. It's an extremely effective strategy. It's very easy to do if you're following the markets, and it's very, very highly profitable. It's a little complex, and that's what we're running into in our group, is the complexity of it is a little bit too much for people. So I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I possibly can here and show you guys just the bare bones of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So here's the screens, the three screens that I typically look at for most of the day here. I'm not hiding too much behind my big fat head here. I'm basically just playing off of this chart for the most part. I'm looking for stocks that have a lot of options activity. So typically my plays are going to be these ones right here. I've got a few examples prepared of what I've been playing today, starting with AMC. And I picked that one along with CCIV and FUBO because they're top 10 in terms of sub $50 options. They've got options expiring soon. In fact, today. That's why I was very excited about them here. And the movement made a lot of sense. I follow the S&P 500. I find this is sort of the most accurate tool so that you can actually identify peaks and valleys in the marketplace. And that, when you have optionable stocks that are just sort of moving with the market, it becomes the best tool in terms of figuring out where those stocks are going to turn around and where the options are going to be the cheapest, followed by a run up. So first and foremost here, I was playing AMC again. I just chose it off of my list of the top most active optionable stocks here. So right off the bat here, it had a nice dip in the morning. The market opened and then dipped. Typically, the market's going to bottom out around 10:30 or so, between 10:30 and 11:30. We got a real late bottom out today. And I was starting to buy things kind of in here. I got kind of caught in this bull trap here. So able to kind of profit a little bit, but then everything sort of plummeted way back down before ultimately bottoming it out right here. And it depends on what indicators you trust. I'm fairly confident most of the time just starting my buys at about 8:30, and if it doesn't turn around there, I average down at about 9:30. That's sort of typically what I do, because that's typically what the market does, especially on a Friday. You get a dip between 10:30 and 11:30 here. Sorry, I'm in a different time zone. I keep getting messed up on the times. 10:30, 11:30. Usually bottoms out on Friday during that time, at which point it starts to turn around. So I started buying things in here, and I started averaging down at about here, and it turned out to be the perfect opportunity to do that. So what was AMC doing at exactly that time? It bottomed out at 10:30. 10:30 was here. Markets kept going down, but ultimately AMC didn't start showing any sort of bullish motion until the market turned around. And then you can see I use 2-minute charts. I use the 20 SMA as my primary indicator, and as soon as my primary indicator, the 20 SMA, started to kind of round out and flatten, everything started to move with it. And I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of exactly that. So AMC started to turn around here. As I mentioned, I was already buying in here, which would have been this dip right here. Turned out not to be the best dip. Then ultimately I came out of that and I started buying dips in here at about 10, 12 bucks a share. This is the March 5th, 2021 $8 calls. They had a lot of volume today, and as such, a lot of volatility with the price moving down. So they dipped all the way from peaks of $80 yesterday to $10 here today. It broke 20 SMA, started to hold above it. You could have still got it in here for about 12, 13, 14 bucks a contract. Ran all the way to about 22, 23 bucks a contract on this movement here, which was only really a 30-cent move in the actual underlying price of the stock. Is it crazy profitable? No, but I mean, if you had called bottom here, you're more than doubling your money. I didn't. I bought in here, averaged down in here, and then played up in here. I kind of got caught in this, where is it here? This little bull trap right here. But ultimately, it worked out to be a really, really solid play. So now I'm going to show you some better examples here. This is probably the weakest of the three. CCIV was the other one that I was playing today. And I'm just going to find the call option here. There it is. I was playing the $24 call option. I'm going to zoom this out again so you can see exactly what this was doing today. So ultimately what happened, it was trading really well yesterday, and then the market sort of tanked today, and then ultimately it carried this on down with it. As it should. It's expiring today. This is the March 5th $24 call option. Expiring today, and really, really bottomed right out, especially right around the 11:30 mark here, when the markets were typically going to turn around. And I took a gamble that they were going to do that. So I was buying in here, and then I was also buying in here. And I'll zoom in so you can actually see. So that would have been, where would I have been? Would have been this dip here, followed by this dip here at about just sub $10 a contract. I think I was buying for about $9 or $10 a contract in here. Just on the assumption that the markets are going to do what they typically do on a Friday, which is bottom out between 10:30 and 11:30 and then turn around. And I was right. Ultimately, this started to show some big bullish movement here. You could have even waited. The safer point would have been to wait until it broke 20 SMA and the 20 SMA started to curl here. And that would have been 11:42, 11:42, when things were still about 11 or 12 bucks a contract. And then everything started to curl up. And again, I chose this one because lots of options moving with the market. And then when the market started to turn, this started to turn, and the market kind of dragged this up with it. And ultimately, you could have gone from 10, 12, 13 bucks a contract relatively safely, all the way up to peaks of, where are we at here, 45 and 50 bucks a contract, which is a huge, 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 huge move from the safe spot. From the safest spot here, which would have been about 10 bucks a contract. Very easy move to catch. I didn't catch the whole thing. I bought in here, averaged down here, and I sold on this pop right up here. But ultimately, even holding would have been fine, because as you can see, this just kept riding 20 SMA right up and didn't really start to break until about, creeping up on 1 o'clock here, 12:50, 12:52, before it started to actually show some signs of weakness here, which would have probably been a better time to sell. So 12:56, 12:56, here's your weakest spots right here. Still would have been profitable, even if you'd held through this and gone, oh, no, I don't get the big movement. You would have still been doubling your money if you'd waited for this 20 SMA break here. And then the third example was my last trade, which was FUBO, FUBO TV here. So ultimately, again, picked it from my list of the most highest volume optionable contract or optionable stocks here, watching the SPY for the turnaround, which I've already explained, and then watching FUBO for the actual turnaround here too. Calling market bottom, which again is very hard to do, but typically it happens between 10:30 and 11:30 on a Friday. I was buying a bit in here, and I averaged down here, which, because I was playing the options, would have been buying here at about 20, 25 a contract. Average down here, I can't quite see what that price actually is, about 10, 12 bucks a contract, just on the straight up gamble that it was going to turn around. I call it a gamble. It's not really a gamble. It's an educated guess. And I was right 3 out of 3 times today. So this turned around all the way from, again, a bottom, if you caught this, you're a genius, of 10 a contract, and it ran all the way to peaks of just over 80, but call it about 85 in here. And that's a 700% move. And again, I was buying in here, averaging down here, and I sold some on this pop, and I think I sold the rest on this movement here. So it was a really good move as well. But again, just following the strategy, following the markets, following what the markets typically do on a Friday especially. They typically start looking really, really well and then bottom out sometime between 10:30 and 11:30, which is exactly what happened. It was a bit of a late bottom out today, but it still happened. And then it showed signs that it was going to turn around. And you can wait for these confirmation signals too. You can wait for the market to actually start to round out, like the 20 SMA on the 2-minute chart did right in there, before buying stuff and riding it up. But then all you're doing is markets are bottoming out and turning around. Then you're finding stocks that you like, and then finding the options that have good volume, that are expiring soon, and that somewhere in the vicinity of the actual price of the stock. So the strike price is relatively close to the actual price. Those ones are the ones that are all going to move with this strategy. And if you watch, like, I mean, this move here, 26 to 30, wasn't a high percentage move for FUBO, but it made, where are we at? My gosh, peaked 80, 85 here. That's a 700% move in the price of the call options. The $30 calls was the one I was using here. So that's a way to scalp stocks if you just want to play the actual underlying itself. But if you get good at this, which is what I'm hoping that these series of videos is going to help a lot of people do, if you get good at this, instead of playing the stock itself, play one of the options for the stock and just use the movement of the stock to essentially track and predict the movement of the option. Because if you're right, which I was 3 out of 3 times today, thankfully, your percentage gain potential is significantly bigger. I think we had 100, 300 or whatever it was with CCIV, and then this one where there was 700% movement on it today. And using this strategy, you can play them all fairly confidently with a very, very high winning percentage. So that's the gist of what I've got going on. Swing trading, which is my usual forte, has absolutely tanked. The markets are far too choppy for swing trading to be effective right now, even if you're really good at picking the plays and you're following all the analysts and all the Twitter pumpers and everything like that. I personally have just been wrong so much more than I've been right over the last few weeks. So I've switched my strategy up completely. And I'm really nailing this options scalping strategy, and I think that anybody who follows this strategy should be able to realize the same sort of level of success. It's Friday, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and best of luck trading next week, guys.